approach to help them is not always easy. Here to tell you more on this emotional topic is your only Chapel Talk speaker on Groundhog Day, Ellye Anna Marks.
It is tough being a teenager. People often say that they would never want to relive their adolescence. It is a highly emotional time with hormones raging and ups and downs happening on a daily basis. Teens are trying to find their place in society, and this can be difficult and at times painful. However, sadness lasting for a long time is not just part of growing up. Part of being a teenager is learning how to handle hard situations that come along in one's life. Some of the sights and situations teens witness and experience can lead to depression. Teen depression needs to be taken more seriously because people are not always aware of the causes, don't appreciate the lifelong damaging effects of depression, and fail to see the way parents and friends can take action to help curb this growing problem. Teen depression is, quote, a disorder that occurs during the teenage years and involves persistent sadness, discouragement, loss of self-worth, and loss of interest in usual activities, end quote. Depression is one of the most common mental illnesses in America. There are many different kinds of depression, and some of the main ones are major depression, dysthemic depression, and manic depression, also known as bipolar disorder. Major depression is when a person is suffering from 5 different symptoms for a period of 2 weeks or longer. Some of the symptoms are trouble sleeping or too much sleep, dramatic weight gain or loss, thoughts of suicide and death, and more. Dysthemic depression is when a person feels hopeless, worthless, has a low self-esteem, or has a change in normal lifestyle for 2 years or more. Manic depression, also known as bipolar disorder, is when one goes through a period of mania or depression and has very fast-changing mood swings. Now more than ever, we need to pay attention to this issue because in the past year, according to an article by Jennifer Evelyn, the rate of adolescents suffering from depression has increased by 3%, and 10% of school-age people suffer from depression. This topic deserves more attention primarily because many parents do not realize they have a depressed child. This happens mainly because many parents do not know the causes of teen depression. They also may not recognize the signs of depression. The National Institute of Mental Health states that, quote, adolescent depression can be a reaction to a disturbing event, such as the death of a friend or relative, a breakup with a boyfriend or girlfriend, or failure at school, end quote. Some common causes of teen depression are bullying, family problems, academic stress, and troublesome relationships. Take, for instance, family problems. As one grows up, tension can result and exist between parents and children as children seek more and more independence. Some parents are reluctant to give their child the freedom one needs as they grow up. This tension can cause stress that sometimes leads to depression. In school, many students are bullied and picked on, and it affects some more than others. In most cases, boys are more physically bullied, and girls are more verbally and emotionally abused. The effects of bullying on teens can be dramatic. Not only can the victims be humiliated and made to feel worthless, but they also feel that they are powerless to do anything about it. This can contribute to depression by crushing a teen's self-esteem. Secondly, we need to take notice because the effects of teen depression can be very serious and at times have life-threatening consequences. Quote, adolescents who have low self-esteem are highly self-critical and who feel little sense of control over negative events are particularly at risk to become depressed when they experience stressful events, end quote. We know that relationships often cause teen stress. Being depressed can affect relationships because one who is depressed feels isolated and does not want to be part of the quote-unquote real world. Also, most teens suffering from depression are insecure, which makes them even more apprehensive in social situations. Often, they do not make an effort to interact with the other people around them. This isolation may lead them to engage in activities without thinking about the consequences. For some, this means substance abuse. For others, it means turning to sex to be able to have some sort of quote-unquote good feeling. Yet, girls more than boys after sexual intercourse can feel quote-unquote easy and worthless, which could make them more sad. According to the book Teen Sex by Christine Watkins, 25.3% of girls who are sexually active are depressed, and 8.3% of boys who are sexually active are depressed. Engaging in sex out of depression is one effect of depression, but perhaps the most serious is suicide. Some teens that are severely depressed contemplate suicide. In the past year, the suicide rate has increased by 8% in teens. There are about 500,000 teens that attempt suicide a year, and 5,000 of those young people succeed. Being depressed does not mean that the person suffering from this disorder is going to commit suicide, but sadly, suicide is the, quote, third leading death among 15 to 25-year-olds, end quote. Although suicide is an act unimaginable to most people, it can happen when depression is not dealt with in the correct ways. Luckily, there is a great deal of help for teens that suffer from depression. As one teen mom states, quote, parents, please pay attention. Don't dismiss depression as normal teen stuff. Don't assume your baby is going to come to you like when they are young. Get to know their friends and develop relationships with them, end quote. Many teenagers suffering from depression will not go to adults for help. They expect adults to come to them. Knowing the symptoms of teen depression will enable someone to notice if a teen is suffering. Another strategy parents can use is to get to know their children's friends. Friends who feel more comfortable with their friends' parents are more likely to approach the parent when they have a concern. Teen depression is treatable, and there are many different treatment options. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, the best way to treat depression is with antidepressants and talk therapy. Antidepressants relieve some of the stress by normalizing the chemicals in the brain, which are usually out of balance, contributing to the depression. Combination therapy is when a person who is on antidepressants also does talk therapy. This allows the teen to discuss what they are thinking with a neutral person who can help them to understand what they are feeling and deal with it in a constructive manner. Some adults might say that teen depression is just part of growing up. They believe that the teen is simply going through a phase that will soon be over. These parents do not take the emotions of their child seriously enough. What these parents need to realize is their kids are not going to come to them and say, Mom, Dad, I think I'm depressed, I need help. Many parents who have depressed teens do not realize it until it's too late. Increased parent awareness can combat the rise in adolescent depression. We all need to take note of teen depression, both parents and adolescents alike. Teen depression needs to be taken more seriously because people often are not aware of the causes, the lifelong effects, or the solutions. And there are ways for parents and friends to take action that will help. It is not just a part of growing up, and too many teens are not being treated. Open your eyes, and maybe you can be the next person to save someone's life.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.